Welcome to my video about the development of monumentality in ancient Egypt and how it reflects the changes in ancient Egyptian society and the political power within over time. According to historian Ian Shaw, the study of monumentality has been key to the different periods in Egyptian history. It showcases the evolution of architectural and artistic forms used for funerary and religious practices. It's through this lens that we're able to see wider advances within Egyptian society. This video will explore the major shifts in monumentality in the Old Kingdom, starting with the early dynastic period. In the pre-dynastic period, kings were buried in the desert sands, which led to the discovery of mummification due to the dry sands drawing water from the bodies, preserving them. But it was not until the early dynastic period that we see a significant change in the way people were buried. Prior to mud brick mastabas, the dead, as we discussed, were buried in pits in the desert. However, the bodies attracted the attention of wild animals, leading to the desecration of the bodies. Hence the introduction of the mastaba. The mastaba is a rectangular structure to house the body which was being buried in the ground. The introduction of the mastaba was a crucial innovation, and the first king to be buried in a mastaba was Narmer, also known as Aha or Menes. He founded the first dynasty, or he was the first king of the first dynasty. Dynasties were differentiations made later on in history. They were not recognized contemporarily, but for purposes of talking about these matters, dynasties help us define different periods of monumentality. Narmer had a palette which was discovered, and it depicts the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt, and it has a picture or an inscription of the falcon of Horus, which was a symbol of royal power. Narmer's mastaba was built in Abydos, and Abydos was where most future kings until Joseph were to be buried. Jer was the second king of the pre-dynastic period and was the first to be found to have human sacrifices and lions buried with him. He also was found to have a separate funerary enclosure. We're not going to discuss all the kings of these dynasties, but the ones that were important for the advances in monumentality. And Ka was the last king of the pre-dynastic period. His tomb is the first to contain a mortuary temple. So this shows a development in the mastaba monument to serve a purpose after death. The mortuary temple would have been initially used to embalm the king until his burial in the chamber. However, after the chamber was sealed, the temple itself was then changed to serve as a cult temple to that king. The location of Hotep-Sekemwe, the next king that we find important, is unknown. However, Egyptologists believe it could be the giant underground gallery tomb beneath the funeral passage of Unis's necropolis. Many seal impressions of Hatshepsut have been found in these galleries. Khafre was the last king of the second dynasty, and he is notable for his mastaba's trapezium shape. So this is something very unique that had not happened before, and it is a hint at the pyramid design that is to dominate the Old Kingdom, which starts with the third dynasty. Khafre's mastaba is the oldest large-scale dressed stone structure in the world. Now the Old Kingdom starts, and the Old Kingdom's most famous monument is the pyramid built in the fourth dynasties, but all of it can trace back to Djoser's pyramid in the third dynasty. Djoser was the first king of the third dynasty, and he introduced this new epoch. And when I say he introduced, we have put these differentiating periods later on, and we have used the changes in monumentality to mark out new dynasties. Djoser's pyramid was so unique, so new, and so different, he founded this new epoch. He has always been one of the most important figures in Egyptian history, and he is marked out with the unusual and exceptional use of red ink in the Turin Canon. The Turin Canon was a document written much later in Egyptian history about the kings and leaders of Egypt, and he is the only person on this list who had red ink used for his name. He commissioned Imhotep, which was his architect, to build what's now known as the Step Pyramid. This is the first pyramid-like structure. It rises to a height of 204 feet, and though it's not a true pyramid, it is a stepped pyramid. Potentially, it was originally a mastaba, which had a mastaba built on top of that, and a mastaba built on top of that, progressively becoming smaller and smaller as they got higher, which would have given them the first inklings of a pyramid. So the first pyramids might well have been based on the mastabas of old. Now going to skip to the most famous period of Egyptian monumentality, which is the fourth dynasty. The Old Kingdom, or Egypt's most famous monument, is the Great Pyramid of Giza. And to get to that point, Senefru, who was the first to build a true pyramid, built three. He built the bent pyramid, which was, as it sounds, not a perfect pyramid, and so he had another go with the red pyramid, which showcases his experimentation both with the angle, size, color, and structure of the pyramid. He really is the one who we can say built the first true pyramid. Senefru's son, Khufu, built the Great Pyramid of Giza that we all know and love from pictures and history documentaries and whatnot. This is the largest and most impressive of all the pyramids. The Great Sphinx of Giza, the statue of a mythical creature with a head of a human and body of a lion, probably one of the most recognized landmarks in the world, and it is believed to have been built during the reign of Khafre, and he built the second largest pyramid at Giza. Inside the Great Pyramid, there is a series of chambers and passages, including the Grand Gallery, the King's Chamber, which is located near the top of the pyramid, and the King's Chamber contains a sarcophagus, but no mummy was ever found inside it. Menkora built the third and smallest of the pyramids of Giza, and it is notable for its unique design. The entrance is located on the north face instead of the usual west face. Menkora's pyramid is also notable for its elaborate funerary complex, which includes a valley temple, causeway and mortuary temple where the king's cult status would have been worshipped. Shepseskaf, the last king of the 4th dynasty, reigned for a short amount of time, about 6 to 8 years. He is conspicuously missing references to Ra in his Mastaba burial. And this is the first time in the Old Kingdom that any king reverted back to a Mastaba burial, more similar to a 2nd dynasty burial, but on a much larger scale. He was the only king in the 4th dynasty to be buried in Saqqara, and for that reason the last king of that dynasty. As we will see, monumentality is to change yet again in quite radical ways, but instead of becoming more impressive, the intention of the burials and what was considered important was to change, and everything was to be on a smaller, less impressive scale. The Old Kingdom saw a dramatic increase in the scale and complexity of monumental architecture, culminating in the construction of the pyramids. The use of large-scale dressed stone construction and the development of mortuary temples and funerary complexes demonstrates the power and wealth of the pharaohs and their ability to mobilize labor and resources for monumental building projects. The end of the 4th dynasty marked the beginning of a period of political and social upheaval known as the First Intermediate Period, which saw the decline in monumental building projects and the fragmentation of the central government. Despite this decline, the monumental architecture of the Old Kingdom continued to influence Egyptian art and culture for centuries to come, serving as a powerful symbol of the pharaoh's divine power. The pyramids of Giza remain a testament to the monumental achievement of the Old Kingdom and continue to awe and inspire visitors to this day. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the development of monumentality in ancient Egypt, and join me next time for more fascinating insights into the world of history and archaeology.